Welcome to the Job Pod with Job Service North Dakota. I'm Dusty Hillebrand, your host. On today's episode, we're going to be learning about the Veterans Readiness and Employment Program through the Department of Veterans Affairs, or for those that might know, the VA. According to themilitarytimes.com, about 3 million veterans have served in either Iraq or Afghanistan since 2001. I'm one of those veterans. And so is my guest today. Many of the veterans from these wars have come home with a disability, and those range from hearing loss to a bad back like me to also suffering from PTS, also like myself. Wars are not anything new to this country, and back in 1918, Congress enacted the Vocational Rehabilitation Act, which provided disabled veterans with retraining so they could continue their lives with the disabilities they developed because of their involvement with the military. Over the years, this has changed to bring us the Veterans Readiness and Employment Program under the Department of Veterans Affairs. And today, my guest is retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Drew Nathan, who is an employment coordinator with the Veterans Readiness and Employment Program. Welcome to the Job Pod, Drew.
Well, thank you very much for having us, or me. I would have had a counselor here with us, but she was unable to make it, but we can talk about that role as well.
Yeah, we'll get there. And I think it's important that people know that, you know, what you do and what the counselors do, because it is different.
It is.
And so let's just start off. What is the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program?
Okay. Well, first of all, I do want to sincerely thank you for your time that you're giving us to talk about the program. We don't always get that chance to get out there as much as we like to, so really, really appreciate this. And, you know, Dusty, you and I go back a little bit of time, too. You know, we were DVOPs that we'll probably talk about here coming up, but, you know, my career started really in job service, and I would like to pay tribute to that and the experience that I was able to have. And we'll go back to, you know, coming back from a deployment. I actually, you know, when you're talking about veterans coming back and trying to transition, that's really what this is all about. It's a tool that veterans can have to assist them in transition, and really transition isn't the day after you get out, right? Transition is a lifelong thing. It can be.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people can transition a little quicker than others and everything. So, I mean, in my own experience, you know, I came into job service after deployment, and I've kind of developed the career in the workforce career field, and it's been great. You know, you don't really work when you do something you love, and that's what has been developed. And you and I have worked through that. We've helped a lot of veterans through job service, and now with the VRNE, and it's just great. Yeah, it's kind of cool how it all kind of comes around.
Yeah, it is. It is, you know, and I remember when I first learned about VRNE, I was working a different job. The old Roy, who was the DVOP that I had been working with.
Yeah.
I had come in and I said, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. I was just learning about the VRNE. They told me to come in and talk to you. And I wanted to go into safety at the time. Yeah. And Roy said, well, there really isn't any kind of career field for that.
Maybe if you want to be a school safety crosswalk person.
Yeah, I probably could do that. Hold a stop sign out there.
Okay.
So, but then, you know, once I got to job service and you and I started working together, you know, I got to learn more about the program, what actually it's about, and, you know, the process of going through it. And we're going to talk about the process today for those veterans who aren't sure, and, you know, where to start, and hopefully where a successful person is, you know, out of voc rehab. I'm sorry, it's not voc rehab and employment. That's what it used to be called.
Formerly called.
Just like, you know, formerly Prince.
Formerly known as.
Yeah, that's right. But
Yeah.
veteran readiness and employment, I'm still trying to get that right in
I
my
stumble through that too. Everybody does. But
head.
yeah, why don't I start from the top? You
Yeah,
ask me the question, I got to answer it, right?
yeah,
I'm deflecting like a good lieutenant colonel
that's
does.
right.
So what is veteran readiness and employment? So again, we'll go back to it's a chapter 31. So you have your chapter 33, which is your Montgomery GI Bill program. You have chapter 31, which is the veteran readiness and employment, formerly known as VOC Rehab. Just a name change. It's the same program as it has been for the last 20, 30, 40 years. But we did a little bit more trying to target the veteran readiness and employment.
And that's really what it's all about.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. And so our mission, okay, it comes down to a simple mission, but there's some things we can break down to really understand that mission. And the mission is to assist service-connected veterans with obtaining, maintaining, and preparing for suitable employment.
So let's talk about what is a service-connected veteran, because I'm going to guess we've got folks that are listening that might have a veteran in their life that they're not sure if they're service-connected or not. So it's a question that you can ask the veterans that you know.
Yes, absolutely. So again, the Chapter 33 benefit, Montgomery GI Bill, and some of these other benefits are for veterans coming out of the military, right? And they're not necessarily, you don't have to be a disabled veteran to do the GI Bill, right? So the difference is that our program is for disabled veterans. Now, the entitlement or the eligibility part of it comes from a veteran needs to be 20% or more service-connected, through the VA, putting in a claim, and then having a service connection of 20% or more, and you need to have a discharge date within 12 years. Okay, so if you're discharged in 1999, you would not be eligible right now.
Right.
So, this is the or if you have a service connected rating within 12 years of your first one, you can be found entitled or eligible for a program. And so, again, somebody that might have gotten discharged in 1999 neither has the GI Bill available for them, but let's say they got a service connection in 2010, or, do the math.
Right.
They would be entitled to our program then because they have that rating within 12 years.
And I think that's one of the important things about the program is that, as we're seeing the burn pit stuff come out right now,
Yep.
If you're someone who deployed actually, it's going back further than just the Operation Iraqi Freedom and
Correct.
Enduring Freedom.
Yep.
And, so if you're a first Gulf War vet and you've got symptoms because of the burn pits and you go through the process, and now all of a sudden, granted, you're probably in your late 40s, early 50s in that time frame, but if you have a new rating, then you could apply for the program.
You'd be able to, at least you have, you got to get that 20%. That's
Right.
kind of the magic number. Now, I will say, in all transparency, there can be some in our program are 10%, but it has to be a very serious 10%. So there is a process through which we go, and the counselors do that, and they will figure out if we can get somebody in with that. But really the magic number is you got to have that 20% or more. So not everybody's eligible for our program is kind of the bottom line.
Yeah, and I think that's what one of the important things that we should note is that not all veterans don't qualify for the program, but there are ways to qualify.
Yes.
And so, I always say, especially with our programs at Job Service, give us a call. Let us figure it out. It's not rocket science to start off with,
right.
But don't rule yourself out.
No.
And that's a people will say, well, I don't qualify. Do you know that you qualify?
Right.
You don't know.
Right. You don't know.
So yeah. So
surprised.
Ask the question. So we just talked about the how does someone qualify for the program? What are the steps to get? Because as a DVOP, you and I were part of the steps to get
right.
into the program.
Right.
And like I said when we started off here, talking with Roy, I didn't get past step 2.
What does that say?
Yeah. So, what if someone is interested? What are the steps for the program?
Okay. So we'll talk about the application part.
Yeah.
And this is a 4-phase program. And I would like to kind of circle back and talk about what suitable employment means too. We can kind of catch that in here. But so for anybody that wants to apply, they need to go to va.gov. Okay. When you pull up the page at va.gov, you'll see this little quad chart type of thing. And under the education block, you'll go to the bottom of that. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 links. The bottom link is, let's see, I'm trying to remember what that link is. It basically says obtain education benefit or whatever. So we do fall under an education benefit, but we're not an education benefit. And I'll get into that a little bit here too. But you click on that, and then on the left side of the web page, you want to look for veteran readiness and employment. You click on that, and then it'll bring you through a series of registering, logging on, and then applying. And the application part of it is pretty easy. It only takes about 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, it's simple.
It's simple. And then what happens is we get notified, right? Now, we're talking mostly to North Dakota individuals, and maybe some people from Minnesota will listen to, just because of the nature of how everything works around here. But anywhere in the state or the country they apply, they will get referred, or the applicant will hit the most local VRNE office. So everywhere here in North Dakota, somebody applies, you're going to be serviced out of Fargo. So we get a notification that they have applied. The next thing is I am notified of the applicant, and then I reach out to the applicant saying, hey, you've met the basic requirement of the program. Now I'm going to do what's called an orientation to the program. Now with the orientation to the program, there's some documentation that needs to be completed. It's not as easy as just that initial application. There is a series of things that we need to know, and these things that we need to know help with that determination of suitable employment. But once that is completed, then you are assigned a counselor. That counselor then will have what's called an intake. That intake then is for an assessment that goes on, and then the veteran is in the program, and then that's where the journey begins.
Right. Okay, so let's talk, because you brought it up again. Let's talk about suitable employment.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to be careful. I'm not trying to disparage any benefit, because you're a veteran, I'm a veteran.
Right.
We've used the benefits of the VA, and the VA has great benefits, but they're all different, right? And so I want to talk about differences, not which one's better or which one's, although our program does offer a lot, and then when you compare programs, we are the premier best program.
And I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
I don't know how I say we're the best.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, but you have the GI Bill, okay? And so the GI Bill is a great benefit for education, right? That's an education benefit. And so the whole idea, the GI Bill approach is, here's some money, go to a school or a program that the GI Bill is certified with, and maybe you'll get a job, right? Okay, well, if I'm going for a job that doesn't really have a labor market demand, now I'm going to tie up GI Bill money and time, and then resulting in I've got this basket weaving degree and I can't even get a job now. So I'm not saying it's a bad approach. It's probably not the best approach to say I'm going to get a job based on education.
Mm-hmm.
So what our program is employment. So going back to our mission statement, to obtain, maintain, prepare suitable employment. So again, it's not just about employment. Okay, I can give you a shovel and you can go shovel gravel. But if you have a bad back, neck, and knee, or if it doesn't support being able to make ends meet, that might be employment, but it's not suitable.
Right.
Or I want to be an accountant, but I don't, or I want to be an engineer and I can't do calculus.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, I can.
I can't.
Well, maybe I can't. But anyway, um, so I kind of want to explain that that's the difference, and so we approach it differently. So we want to identify the employment first.
And so the next process of the step is where job service comes in a lot of the times, where once they meet with the counselor, then they come see a DVOP of something, and they do what's called labor market
Review,
research,
yep.
or review.
Yep.
And this is where, like I said, we step in and we sit down with the veteran, and they give us at least 3 different choices of a career field that they want to go into. And like you said, we don't look at it as education. We look at it as employment. And so they have to, or when we look at the labor market information, the career path has to have employment at the end.
Yes.
Like you brought up basket weaving, and there are people who make money making baskets.
Yeah, that's not a cut on basket weavers.
No, not at all.
It's somebody want to look up the labor market statistics on that. Is it growing?
I don't know. I'm gonna say no, but
no,
you never know.
But I like a good basket.
Yeah, I do too. So like for instance, if you came into the office and you said, "I want to be a gas lamp lighter," all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so what's your next choice? I want to be a CDL driver.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your next choice? I want to be a dog walker.
There you go.
Okay.
Outstanding choices.
Outstanding. So gas lamp lighter at one point in our country's history, in the world's history, might have been a good choice for a career.
Mm-hmm.
The lamps need to be lit every night.
Exactly.
You're going to have a job.
Safety, security.
Not so much today.
No.
Dog walkers, while yes, there are people who walk dogs, and no cut on those dog walkers.
It's a niche market.
It's very niche. Probably we're not going to see a lot of growth in that.
No.
But right now, countrywide, we know that the demand for CDL drivers is exponential.
Absolutely.
And so as a DVOP, we could sit down with that veteran and say, "Oh, look, here's a career path. Out of the 3 that you chose, this one has a lot of potential for employment."
Correct.
And as long as it's suitable employment for, like you said, so if you're someone who is, let's say, can't sit for a long period of time, right? You're probably not going to be driving truck.
Right.
But if you can, and it suits what the VA has looked at your disability, all right, so then we're going to write a case for that veteran to find employment, and then we're going to send them back to the counselor.
Right. So let me kind of go back a little bit to that suitable employment. So you're talking about a piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the full picture of suitable employment, and you've touched on almost all of it. But the paperwork that we provide the veteran to fill out helps with that all-encompassing suitable employment criteria or analysis. So what is that? Well, first of all, we got to look at the service-connected disability, right? I mean, if you're not service-connected for your back, it's kind of hard to say, okay, well, we need to put you in something that's not as labor-intensive. Mm-hmm. But if your back is service-connected, then we can say, okay, you need something more less labor-intensive, right? So we have to look at the service-connected disability primarily, what you're service-connected for, okay? So that's kind of the first initial look. Because if you come to me and say, I want to be a welder, right? Because there's a lot of people to get into welding or even CDL, they can make some money on it. It's a short training period. So from flash to bang, hey, and now I'm working, some people want that, right? They don't want to go to 4 years of school.
Right.
So the thing is that we have to look at that and say, look, you know what? I know you want to be a welder. You're probably going to be a great welder, but if your service-connected disability is high in that back, it's not going to be suitable, right? On the other part of it is that's not enough, though, all right? So we have to match the service-connected with what is suitable for them to do, both mental and physical. So mental health and physical health plays in there as well. Okay, because some people aren't going to be able to handle maybe some of the mental stress of certain jobs.
Mhm.
All right, so we have to, we have to manage that expectation and manage that need or that ask. And a lot of times veterans are coming in and they know what they want to do. Some don't really know what they want to do, and some have no idea, or they kind of know, right? So this assessment covers everybody, right? And so we look at that service-connected disability, and then we move on to, all right, well, what's your interest and aptitude, right? Because we're not the military. We're not having you take an ASVAB test
Right.
and then saying, oh, guess what? You got military intelligence, petroleum specialist, and cook. Those are your two choices at this time.
Right, right.
Which one do you want? And then you hope for the best, right? And that happened to me. Anyway, and I picked intelligence, probably because
I'm waiting for an answer.
I'm intelligent.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Man, Dusty, come on. Fast moving train here. But anyway, enough about, it's not about me, right? Okay.
That's right.
As much as I like to talk about myself, it's about the program.
It's about the program.
Yeah. So where was I now? Okay. We're not the ASVAB. So
right.
So we have this thing called the career scope. All right. Now, there are the other assessments we use too, but the one that Fargo uses, we do an online assessment, and that is going to help with aptitude and interest, because it's not so much about even aptitude. It's about we want to close that gap between interest and aptitude. So we do want somebody to have a good fit. We want somebody to do a job or a career field that they're interested in, right? And so that's a part of the assessment. Plus, it gives direction. If you come to me and say you want to be an accountant, well, that career scope probably is going to have that score saying, yeah, you'd be a good accountant. Now, that career scope also, what's interesting about it, it doesn't give you just these scores. It gives actually a list of career fields that you have an interest and aptitude that you score well enough in.
At one time I did want to be an accountant, and then thank God I'm not, because I would probably be in jail for messing somebody's stuff up.
Like the movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be bad.
Yeah.
But like you said, part of it, the veteran needs to be interested in it, because it's very easy to get disillusioned on a job that you just get. Like, you just walk in someplace, you take a job, well, you're there for a year or two, and then you leave. But that's not what this program is about.
Right.
It's about giving something that someone can build on, and find a career path that they can stay with, and then hopefully build those skills and maybe move up within that career path or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very important part of what you just said. Yeah. It has to be part of that interest for the veteran, because it's no good just, like you said, you give them 3 options, pick the least painful.
Yeah.
And then that it's not like that. So that's a really good, it's good to know that you guys are working with the veteran to see what's out there for them. Because like you said, I work with people in their 50s that have no idea what they want to do when they grow up.
Yeah.
And so then we have to work, like, what do you want to do? There's lots of options out there. Okay,
and some people don't know until they take that test.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, I could tell you a little story about a welder that, he's a Marine, he's an infantry Marine. So, he just had this natural inclination to work with his hands, and he was a welder for, when he got out of the military, and was a welder, a great welder for like maybe 15, 20 years. Well, his bad back, neck, knee started to kick in, and guess what? We assessed. It looked like he would be a good social worker, believe it or not. And guess what? He didn't think of that either until he took the test, and we did these assessments. And it wasn't just the test, but
right.
Through this assessment, he's like, well, maybe I would be. Maybe I've never thought of that before. And guess what? He became a social worker. And now, that's drastically different, right? But that's what happens sometimes in our program.
Yeah, that's opposite sides of the world there.
Yeah, but that's what the assessment's there for. And so the other assessment too is we have a kind of a questionnaire that kind of gives an overview background. So we can get an idea just what the person is good at, hasn't been very good at. It's fine if people fail, right? That's how we learn.
Right.
So that helps us figure out, well, what is working for them and what isn't. Again, we don't want to force a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
But We want to assess that too. So then we can also see what their education level is in the past, what their work history, what their military history, and all that stuff comes together to package up in this nice little pretty package to say, okay, you want to be an accountant, you want to be a CDL, you want to do whatever it is that is going to be a good fit and that you can do and it won't aggravate your service-connected disabilities, and that labor market comes back. All right, we like to have them pick. It could be 3 different job career fields. It could be all similar. That labor market, and again, that great collaboration we have with Job Service, that great collaboration that starts at the beginning, and this is what I want to also bring up. In North Dakota, we have the collaborative effort between the Workforce Center, Job Service, and VRNE, which starts from the beginning of the applicant, where the applicant gets that labor market review back to get them trained. But then at the end, on that 4th phase of our program, is job ready. And when they are trained and ready to go and hit that workforce, they have their degree, they have their license, they have their certification. Then we collaborate with Job Service, with the Veterans Employment Reps, the DVOPs, to help that veteran in the area that they live to then be placed in employment. And ultimately, the end state is employment, and that's the end state for success, that they have found, the veteran has found employment that is suitable and that they can, have a quality of life as well.
So let's go back just a little bit, and the end goal, employment, a successful, making ends meet, like you just said. Well, let's talk about the different kinds of training that are available.
You bet.
For
I'm glad you brought that up.
For the veterans that
Excellent
are out
question.
there, because it's not
a degree.
Like you already said, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Not all training works for everybody.
No, exactly, and that's good. And so we emphasize training, not education, again, because that covers everybody. All right, if you just want to get a CNA certification, like I just want to be a CNA, that's a 3-week certification course, right?
Right.
And you can hit the workforce and be gone and do great things. All the way to electrician. You only need 2 years of, or a diesel mechanic. You go to India CS, get your 2-year degree, and then boom, you hit the workforce. Or a 4-year degree in accounting or IT or whatever. All those things have different levels, and some require certifications, right? You don't necessarily need a certification in some career fields like you need in others, like IT or accounting. I don't know why we're going back to accounting.
I don't know either.
It's easy to talk about, but anyway, CPA. We can help with that. So it covers the wide spectrum of career fields. Our program does. So it's not always about 4-year degree. So don't think that as a veteran out there that you think you got to sign up for our program and we're going to now start looking at degrees, because sometimes people don't want to do that. Not everybody wants to be a teacher. Not everybody wants to be an accountant. Some people want their CDL, and that's just fine.
Well, we've already kind of brought it. If welding is something that fits within suitable employment that's a 12 to 16-week course that, and as soon as you're done, you're employable. I mean, there's lots of welding jobs out there right now. CNA, LPN, RN. RN's a 2-year degree. LPN is like at 18 months, I think, depending on the program.
Right.
Or a BSN.
Nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes all the way up. All the way up, all the different levels.
So there's different lengths, and if you're somebody who, like, the thought of going back to college at my age,
you can't be over 35.
Oh boy. Yeah, way over 35.
Wow.
No.
I'm surprised. I didn't think.
I do look like I'm a 56, so
I wouldn't have guessed.
But the thought of going back to school, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, right. I don't. If Job Service closed down tomorrow and I decided I am going to use the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, which I would qualify for today.
Yep.
I the thought of going back to school, just like to sit in the classroom for another 4 years to get my degree, to do something else, does not do it for me. But I would be very happy to sit down. Let's look at some of these certifications that are out there. Like my background, I have a little bit of IT background. Is there a certification that I
Sure.
can get so that I can go do IT? Like you're saying, we're not just trying to jam somebody into the hole here. You have the ability to kind of choose what you want to do and what fits what you are about. I keep thinking, and you just went back a few years back and got your master's degree. I remember you and I talking about that.
Yep.
And I've thought many times, maybe I should just go get my master's degree in something. Well, I've been thinking about that for a lot of years.
Right. But look at you, got a podcast. You're manager of Job Service and Draft Forks. I mean, what do you need an MBA for?
I don't. That's just it.
You've arrived.
I've arrived. But there's other people who think, all right, I've been hoeing concrete for the last whatever. My back can't take it. My knees can't take it. I want something that I can provide for my family, that I'm not going to keep beating my body up that's already beaten up. I think I need to go get, I love numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I love working with people. A lot of people think CPAs don't work with anybody. They just sit in a little hole.
Right.
Right. It's not true.
No.
But I'm going to become a CPA, and that is a great career path for somebody who is interested in that world.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's great that there's those options for those veterans. So,
and it's assessed.
Yeah.
There's due diligence with this. So we do a pretty thorough assessment. And that's the thing, we're talking about this labor intensive stuff, but somebody might be sitting out there doing a less labor intensive, like maybe they are a teacher.
Yep.
Maybe they're a law enforcement officer. And guess what? The mental health part of it, it's getting to them. And it's not suitable for them. Now, they've got their 4-year degree in criminal justice. They got their teaching license and education and all that. What more do they need? Well, they might need retraining.
Yep.
Maybe they need to do whatever to get them away from the situation that's triggering them, or that's giving them that mental health challenge. We can do that too. All right. So this isn't just I'm going from one level to the next. It depends. Everything's so individual. It's not a cookie cutter program.
And that's what's, I think, one of the coolest things about it is it's not just cookie cutter, like you said. It is individualized. Everybody's looked at what is your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your issues. But you bring up a really good point of, like, one of the things, my background, like I've said many times on the podcast here, is that I have a teaching background.
Yeah.
And I truly think one of the reasons why I got out of teaching before I was diagnosed is because of my PTS. And my mental health it wasn't there for that world. And, but didn't know it at the time, right? I had no idea.
No, yeah, you didn't.
And so now, years down the road, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That is, the sirens are going off, lights or whatever. Makes sense. And so that's a great point, because the world of law enforcement, let's just talk about law enforcement right now. It's a very tough. Yeah. Not only physically, but mentally, where, highs and lows every single day. And if you're triggered because of something that you see and it's constantly wearing you down, it's not good for that veteran who, mental health is very important, like you already said. It's not good for that veteran to be constantly in a mental health crisis situation. So what else can they be doing? What else can we do to alleviate some of that mental health strain?
Right. And that's our program, yeah.
Yeah, VRNE.
VRNE, Veteran Rights Employment.
Right.
Chapter 31. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to make some comparison and some comparisons real quick, because it does fall in the line along the lines of what we can actually do, and there's some unique things between the GI Bill is great, but it can only go so far to do what the GI Bill can do for people. So I'm going to do some comparison contrast real quick. So if GI Bill will pay for tuition, we'll pay for tuition. whatever tuition that is. Again, if it's Linus welding, that's only 12-week or whatever. I mean, there's tuition there, right?
Yep,
But
yep.
it's not a college. Okay. There are crane operator programs out there too that we use. When I say tuition, I mean a cost of training. Okay. So we'll pay for the cost of training. We'll pay for equipment or books. So if you want to go into auto mechanic, there's usually tools involved.
Yes.
Right now we can't go and buy a welding truck and a big welder and a bunch of cylinders and
Right.
stuff. But we can give that basic, if the program requests you to have it or that employer does, like, again, we haven't even touched on apprenticeship.
No, we haven't.
Which we can maybe get into. I mean, that's a little bit. I mean, but we do work with apprenticeships. I got to put that out there.
Yes.
We do, and that's a big thing now is apprenticeships. But and kind of how that works is if somebody is in a federally recognized apprenticeship program through a company, they can use and they are approved by us. Then if that company says that this veteran needs this type of equipment, it's like using the GI Bill going to college, but you're going to that work site with equipment. But we'll pay the cost of equipment, tuition. We'll pay. We'll even provide a computer and equipment too. If you're going to welding school, you're not going to need that computer
Right.
and equipment, but you might need it for these other training programs. We'll pay a stipend. GI Bill pays a BAH. We can pay a stipend, basically, a subsistence allowance for full-time, and it does compare to the BAH if you're eligible for GI Bill. If you're not, then there's a single rate, and then a rate based on dependence. But we will pay you to go. It's not a lot, but you pay you. Where it even gets a little bit more crazy is if, say you were to become a social worker, there's licensing involved, and those licensings are or CPA, they're expensive. We can provide prep course material. We can also reimburse you the cost of that licensing.
And that's huge because I know people who have had a full-time job, quit just to study for their CPA.
Right.
And then not pass it their first time.
Right.
It's not very often that I've met a CPA that passed it their first time. Second time, yes, because they've already seen it, they know what to expect, but not the first time. And I think that's important that people understand that you guys are willing to help out with that because, like you said, some of this license stuff is very expensive.
RNs, they pay a lot of money for that state board exam.
And then, it has to come from someplace, right? So if you're going to school and you're only able to work a little bit of time. I remember when I student taught, I worked for a couple hours on the weekend because I was teaching the rest of the week, right? And I was teaching in a little town in North Dakota where there wasn't a whole bunch of stuff going on, and all I had time for was teaching. Thank God I was married, so I wasn't living in a. But but that's what it really comes down to. It's good that there's that help for those veterans, so they're not just sitting there on their own. Like, how am I going to get through this?
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I gotta make it that we will reimburse that. So and you'll have to pay out of pocket for that exam or whatever, but upon passing it, we will reimburse.
You gotta pass it. So study.
Yeah, you gotta study. Do your due diligence. But yeah, I mean the program is pretty in depth. I mean there's some things we haven't touched on that, and I'll just say what. There's a lot there that we can do for someone who's a service-connected veteran. We want to help. Look into our program. Don't second-guess yourself. The other thing, too, some of you out there that are working through service-connected process, and make sure you're working with the county veteran service officer. Make sure you're working with the national service officers that the VA in the regional office. They're associated with the National Service Organization, VFW, DAV, North Dakota Department of Veterans Affairs, Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, and they will help with that service-connected process. It's much easier to go through the process with somebody advocating and working for you to get that process through. Okay, the VA is big. The VA has a lot going on. They can't always maybe make the most accurate decision right away.
Right.
And that's why you need those advocates that's their job. Okay. So sometimes the VA does get a little bit of a negative reputation for maybe, not giving the service connection that somebody's expecting. Well, it's not really, it's all about the person being able to accurately represent what they're doing and have it down on paper to get it service connected. But sometimes you can't do it on your own, and so you have people that can, and that's your way of doing it, because it's impossible to get it right the first time. It really is.
Yeah, you make a good point. We've had veteran stuff on before, right? And one of the things that whenever I'm working with veterans, whenever I'm talking to veterans, I always make sure to tell them that you're not alone in this process.
Yes.
There's lots of us out there who have gone through this process. There's lots of us who can point you in the right direction. Like, don't come to me for to help you get service rated. But I'll tell you what, I will point you in the right direction to get service rated.
Yes.
And so, if you think that this is your service rating, you should be rated for an injury that you that happened while you were in the service, then yes, let's file for it. And then there's programs like this, like VRNE, that are available to you.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back, because I want to. You talked about 4 phases, right?
Yeah.
So what are the 4 phases?
Okay. So the 4 phases kind of go like this. You're an applicant. Go through that applicant online application process. Then from applicant, we go into that orientation. I conduct orientation. So let's differentiate between an employment coordinator and a counselor.
Oh, good point.
All right, a vocational rehab counselor. So a vocational rehab counselor is a certified counselor that will work with the veteran to get them through the program. Okay, they're there with the veteran, going through, basically setting it up, the schooling, making sure the veteran is getting their payments, getting their books paid for. Any issues that happen maybe during school, sometimes life happens when you start stuff.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And that's another thing too. I want to make sure everybody understands that if you commit to a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree or whatever, you don't have to do it in 4 years.
That's
right?
good to know.
There's some people that can't handle more than one class a semester at first.
You and I have both worked with people, veterans just like that. That
Yep.
One class was their max. But they were happy to be in that class. But if you asked them to do any more, it wasn't going to happen.
No. And if you pushed them, then they're not going to go.
Right.
And so we are a very compassionate, empathetic. Again, we're not the military.
Right.
You sign on the dotted line, you're doing 4 years, it better be done in 4 years. That's not how it goes. All right. So that counselor is there. Okay. What is a counselor? All right. A counselor is there to help you, get you through the challenges that come along with starting a program. All right. And so that's what that counselor is there. Counselors along the ride with that veteran for about 80 to 90% of the program. So the first phase is the applicant phase. With the orientation, I do the orientation. I make that connection, that rapport, and establish that trust with the veteran, explain the program, set the conditions, the expectations. After that, they go to what's called evaluation and planning, and that's with the counselor. So all this assessment and all this stuff that we talk about, putting it all together, the counselor and the veteran does that together. Once they develop a plan, an individual plan, and it's agreed upon with goals and objectives that are going to be met, that is the end of the evaluation and planning phase. The third phase is called rehab to employment. So rehab to employment is that training phase, however long it is, 3 weeks, 4 years, whatever. Once that veteran is completed with training, degreed, licensed, certified, whatever, they are now ready. They've got their mental health stable. They got their physical health stable. They're good to go. Now they're ready to enter the workforce. And that's the last phase, and that's the success phase. You enter the workforce looking for work related to the training we provided you, all right? And then upon completion of landing a job or placement for at least 60 days, then the veteran is considered successful. So that's the 4 phases.
And those four phases make, I think, very good sense. Because, like you said, you start off 1, 2, and then you have that longer third, or it could be a short third, doesn't matter.
Could be.
And then that fourth is, hopefully the person's done, moving on, they're successful. Rehabbed, whatever we're going to call it. And, they've gotten through the process.
Yes.
And I like that it's broken down kind of into those phases because it's helpful. I mean, that's, if you think about it, a lot of the stuff we do in the military is in phases, right?
Yep. 4-phase operation or whatever.
Yeah. So, those veterans are used to, all right, you're going to start here. Goal is to get to this phase. Boom. Let's work through it. But again, I think one of the things I want to go back to is that it's very important to understand that just because it's 4 phases doesn't mean that you need to have it done. Like, there's an end date I'm sure there's an end date of some kind, but like I can remember one of the veterans that I was working with, a veteran had brain cancer and had lost a lot of function.
I remember this.
And
we were there together with that one.
Yeah. And so that veteran could not handle more than a class or 2.
Right.
And the veteran was working towards, I think the veteran wanted to be a social worker at the time. But because of the cognitive disabilities that she had obtained over the years because of her cancer and the physical limitations of why she actually qualified for the program, it took her longer to get through it. But that's okay.
But she finished.
Yeah.
And she's successful.
Boom.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, for those of you out there listening, it's a great program. And they're there to help. Like I keep telling veterans, we're there to help.
Yeah.
You're not on your own. So ask for some.
And again, I come in the first phase basically, and I come into the employment coordinator will be in the first phase and the 4th phase. They can be in the 2nd and 3rd phase as well, but I then take on the veteran as an employment coordinator to help them with the resume writing, interview skills, job seeking skills, job referral, all that. But again, we do rely a lot on job service. For the unemployed veteran leaving their training program that haven't found employment yet, because a lot of veterans will find employment before they graduate or about the time they graduate. So not everybody is coming out of that rehab to employment unemployed, but those that do, we refer to DVOPs.
Yeah, and there's a whole network of DVOPs. Like we want to keep everybody here in North Dakota, obviously. Yeah. That's our goal, or at least Job Services goal. But as a DVOP, there's a whole network of disabled veterans outreach program specialists across this nation. And if someone is having, is getting trained here, but wants to move to, let's say Maine. I don't think I've ever had anybody move to Maine.
What a great place.
But I mean, I think of all the seafood I could be eating out there.
I know, lobster.
Oh man, don't get me started. But we're going to find a DVOP out there to let this veteran talk to so that they can find employment, right? I think of some of the career paths that we have here in North Dakota. Like we have some flight paths that we have had veterans go through. They're not all going to be flying out of Grand Forks or Fargo. So there might be someplace else. So again, it's a good, the relationship that we have with Voc Rehab, especially here in North Dakota, is very strong. And we value that partnership because it's helpful to our clients that we work.
Right. We can't do it without you. And and I think it's kind of mutual.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a two-way street right there.
Well, yeah, because we get a lot of clients from Voc Rehab and Employment. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's not right. Veteran Readiness and Employment.
You're all right.
Thanks. Okay, so let's talk about my last question before we get to the actual last question.
Okay.
Is there, like, when you're looking at someone who's coming through the programs, right, and they get, is there a better candidate for the program, or?
So what kind of candidate are we looking for?
Yeah, kind of. Let's go with that.
I will say it is open to all. All right. So whether, if you want to go on the spectrum of of what's happening in people's lives, right? I look at things through a spectrum. On one hand, you have the person that doesn't need as much help, right? They maybe all they need is maybe a little financial assistance going through some training, and they got it from there. All the way to on the other side where you have veterans that are dealing with addiction. All right, they may have a criminal background. All right, so that's a wide spectrum. All right, all the different education experiences, all the different service experiences. It doesn't, all the kaleidoscope of people, right? We're here for all of them. Who's the best candidate? Doesn't matter if you're on one hand or the other. The best candidate is someone that wants to better themselves and they want to apply themselves and then find employment for themselves, their family, for the country, for the nation, whatever. But really, it doesn't matter. We can take the most squared away person to the person that's really struggling. It's all about attitude. It's all about heart. I mean, come on, we're all veterans.
Right.
If you can get through basic training, you should be able to get through a lot of things. Use those principles that you used back in basic training, and then some of you that have done some other crazy training. What made you get through that? A lot of obstacles you had to go over. Now you just need to get through the obstacle of whatever is handed to you right now.
I think that is a great, honest to God, that's a great way to put it because, like you said, no one's on the same path.
No.
Everybody has their windy roads, or you might just have a straight path. But just because one person does and one person doesn't mean that this isn't a great program for them. You said that that was actually very well said, and I appreciate.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate the way that you put that because I don't think I could have put it that way, honestly.
Well, I think I've seen a lot. I know you've seen a lot with the people coming through, and the big thing is, I think we're both very passionate about this. I mean, I am. Yeah. I wouldn't be doing this for as long as I have, and it's something I love. And the greatest feeling is knowing that veteran is successful, right? That there's veterans that overcome a lot of things, and when they can, it's great. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And so that's why we're here. And, the saying is, I'm with the governor, I'm here to help.
Right.
That's true.
It is true this way.
It is true this way. Come this way.
Okay, so the actual last question that I asked.
Okay.
Every
Make it
guest.
Tough. You had a lot of softball questions,
well,
but okay.
I know. This one's kind of softball.
Okay.
But it's going to make you think.
All right.
What is the one thing that the listener should take away from today's episode? Out of everything that we talked about, what's the one thing?
Wow, that was not softball.
I know.
That was a crazy screwball sinker, whatever. Wow. Because there's just so much. I think it goes back to I'm going to go back to the transition. Okay, everybody is going through a transition, no matter what, and this is a chance for you to, as a service-connected veteran that can use our program. This is a chance, no matter where you're at, to get connected, and to use the resources at its full benefit. Okay, because again, going back to, we can refer you to other things. We know we're pretty well networked with other things. So whatever you need, we could probably find. And again, there's so many people out there that need help. Come to us. We're here to help. We're going to do what we can. All right. And it's the best program right now that's out there.
Yeah, I have to agree. I do. I think, for a veteran who is hurting and doesn't know what the next steps are, you've been beaten down mentally or physically. This is a great opportunity to change your life trajectory. Yeah. And it's a great program, and that you're supported. And like you said, everybody is transitioning. We all transition differently. Like we said in the very beginning of the show, some people transition the next day and they're just on with their life. Some people have a hard time. Like, what is that next step?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been in this for so long. And the veteran readiness and employment is a great opportunity to help with that transition. So, yeah.
Well, and the partnership we have with you too. I got to tell you, that's important for people to know. And I know there might be people outside the state that might end up listening to this. And I will say that North Dakota is a model of how the cooperation happens. All right. And we should really look at that model of just that ability to work together and be on the same page. And I mean, we're really as effective as we are with our counterparts.
Yeah, no, and that's very true. And again, thank you for that, and thank you for the partnership that we have with you yourself and your team at the VA in Fargo here. Again, it comes down to we're here to help.
Yeah,
we're the government. We're here to help,
both state and federal. You get the double whammy.
Right. Well, thank you, Drew, for coming over and being on the Job Pod.
Thank you. This was a pleasure. And an honor. More of an honor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And for those of you out there listening, I'm telling you, if you know a veteran that might be qualified, or you don't know, ask the veteran. Ask them, hey, do you know about this program, Veteran Readiness and Employment? And it might just change the veteran's life. And maybe your own. Who knows? Thanks for listening.